Around 4:30 this afternoon, an Escalade going just 30 miles an hour southbound here on College hit a slick patch of ice. That ice forced the car to cross the center line and it hit oncoming traffic. Now the car that it hit catapulted the Escalade through this fence and straight into this basement apartment.
I just heard glass shatter and I just got up and panicked and tried to call 911, but it was busy, and went to see what it was and saw an Escalade tires.
Tiffany Creel and her 16-month-old daughter Mackenzie were in the living room at the time of the crash.
She was bawling and she was scared. I was scared. I was really shook up.
I'm just glad they're safe. Pretty scary stuff.
An Escalade had come straight through the windows of the bedroom and their baby's nursery.
Just thankful that she wasn't there.
The driver had hit another car and the apartment fence before colliding with the building.
If it wasn't for wearing my seatbelt, I probably would be through that windshield and probably wouldn't be standing here right now.
Melissa Blair's 3 children, who were passengers at the time of the crash, are still in shock.
They were scared. They were shooken up. We had to crawl through the back seat because that was the only door that would open.
The kids are okay. It's just something they will not forget in quite a while.
Neighbors offered to help both families as police started to arrive.
What's going on? Are they okay? What can I do to help? It just is crazy.
There were no major injuries from the crash.
Thank God they were in their car seats and they were strapped up, and thank God for the airbags. They went off.
These streets are dangerous. I've never liked the way Wyoming handles their icy roads. I mean, have you seen a plow or anything out in this area yet? No.
Now, this entire building behind me was evacuated today because the crash caused so much structural damage. And this might be hard to believe. Today's crash wasn't the first car to crash into this apartment complex. Almost exactly a year ago, last February, a different car crashed into the same apartment complex because of a winter storm. Now, no serious injuries came out of that accident either, but it does go to show that this road is extremely dangerous, and if you can help it at all, please avoid all unnecessary travel this evening. The roads are still very, very slick. Reporting live, Catherine Johnson, CBS News Channel 5. A server, a bartender, and a barista. It sounds like the beginning of a joke, but what these 3 workers are dealing with is no laughing matter.
I have to work 2 jobs, just to be able to pay my rent.
Joe Darling is a server at Cheyenne's Mayflower restaurant. He gets paid $2.13 an hour, Wyoming's minimum wage.
As a server, with the minimum wage and everything, of course, I'm looking at, about $100, every week, and that is not enough. So I have to rely on my tips.
Michelle Lucius is a single mom, making ends meet as a bartender at the Capitol Grill.
I would definitely not be able to survive without tips. I live off of tips.
And Libby Panel, a part-time student, part-time employee at the Trails Coffee Shop.
I'd like to get paid more personally. I mean, who doesn't?
All 3 work at local establishments. All 3 depend on tips to make a livable wage.
There's a lot of people out there that struggle just make a minimum wage.
Minimum wage for tipped workers in Wyoming has been the same since 1996. According to the National Employment Law Project, if wage had kept up with inflation, it would now be up to $4.90 an hour. That's more than double what workers are getting paid.
It would be nice to keep up with the times, yes.
The Trails Coffee Shop and the Mayflower have both had to cut hours of operation to save on costs.
We're thinking about cutting back some more days. I mean, that's all we can do.
It has slowed down drastically.
Meaning less hours for employees and less opportunities to grab any tips at all.
Where are we going wrong? What is going wrong, Why aren't people coming in?
But as diners try to save money by staying in, workers are still trying to get paid. No diners, no tips. No tips, no livable wage. In Cheyenne, Catherine Johnson, CBS News Channel 5. 2 bills are up for further discussion in the House to put harsher penalties on domestic violence cases. But for the lawmaker who wrote the legislation, it's much more than just waiting for these 2 bills to pass.
Violence affects women of all walks of life, and no one goes untouched by its cruel, lasting marks.
Representative Kathy Davison knows this firsthand.
My daughter Kelly, who was 33, was shot and killed by her husband in October. And it was domestic violence.
4 months after her daughter was killed, and Davison says the shock hasn't even started to wear off.
In Kelly's situation, she was very close to her family, and we would have thought she would have shared with us, but she didn't.
The Wyoming Attorney General's Office of Victim Services says there were more than 4,500 reports of domestic violence in the state last year. 234 were filed in one day alone, and those are just the reported cases.
One time I stepped in on an argument with Kelly and her husband, and I later told her she didn't have to put up with that she deserved to be treated better. And she told me that it wasn't usually like that, and it was only when he was drunk. And now I wish that I had pursued it.
But Davison is pursuing the cause now, before it's too late for other families.
We decided as a family that we were going to start contributing and try to do something to make a difference.
2 bills written by Davison have already moved through the House for further discussion. One would relinquish all parental rights of a person who commits murder to his or her spouse. Even though Kelly's husband is in jail for murder, he still has parental rights.
We've been going through a lot trying to get custody of her son.
The other bill is written to create harsher penalties for killing a pregnant woman. Kelly was pregnant with her second child when she was shot.
And I'm confident that she wouldn't have stayed if she didn't think she could change it.
As the bills move on to the House Judiciary Committee, Davison says as long as she gets people to talk about domestic violence, she feels she'll be doing her daughter justice. As you can tell, it's still very emotional for Davison to even bring this topic up for discussion. We'll have more on her personal struggle coming up tonight at 10 o'clock. Reporting live, Katherine Johnson, CBS News Channel 5.